Hi, Team 3 here with our results from our data meeting number 2. I'm Victoria, and my team members are Monique and Leah. We had our data meeting on Sunday, June 25th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. via Google Hangouts. Our basic agenda was just reviewing group norms and our essential questions, each of us sharing our artifacts and then our next steps. Our exploratory question is based off of data that I brought to the table in data meeting 1, and it is, what are the misconceptions of the 35 students, 79.55%, not understanding the main idea of informational text, which is the standard with the most amount of below students? Artifacts I brought to the table were item analysis with student names, and some student work. Before obviously digging into the numbers and answer choices, I did need to review the questions with my team. They were 3 questions of main idea on the assessment, 2 different articles. So number 10 is for one article, and 13 and 14 are off of a second article. There is a part B. It's basically which statement helps provide support for your answer for part A. As a group, we did decide that part A should be what we focus on, because you can't get part B correct to support if you do not get part A correct. So my item analysis from my reading diagnostic assessment, which is given in August, you can find at the tiny URL /RDA item analysis. And I have the different percentages and different charts that I used in Google Sheets. So this is question 10, 13, and 14. The stars are to mark which answer choice was correct. And it obviously shows a learning gap, and it's just the kids can't determine the main idea. Looking at which answer choices did get higher percentages and still wrong, it seems like they were going on their personal feelings about sharks or their prior knowledge rather than focusing on what the text said. It is a relative significance, 5 out of 5. This is a very fundamental skill. You need it to be able to compare and contrast and all those different higher order skills. Prominence, 4 out of 5. Averaging how many students got it correct out of the 3 main idea questions. On average, 23.5% of students were successful, but that leaves almost 80% not understanding the concept, and that is a big deal. The student item analysis is basically just like the item analysis with the pie charts, except this time I made charts with the choices, and I list the student names of who got it wrong. The green would be who got it correct. The learning gap is the same. They're going off of their personal knowledge. You can use the tinyurl.com/RDA student answers to check out the Google Sheets. The significance, again, 5 out of 5. Same kind of statistics with the prominence, 4 out of 5. Okay, my last artifact was some student work, something we did in the beginning of November, part of Unit 2. They had a larger article that they read about birds' nests, and it had different sections with different headings. Students worked in groups that needed to read a section, write a couple sentences about what they learned in that section, and then come up with a new heading to show they could figure out what the whole section was about to show off the main idea. So again, very great significance. A little bit of learning gaps. Students, seemed to work well in smaller chunks, but prominence is 2 out of 5. It was modeled in the I do, we do, you do. I did have an example. We did one together before they were sent on their own, and I was providing feedback and support right in the classroom, looking at this document online via Google Classroom. Then it was on to Monique. She had teacher reflections, flexible grouping, lesson improvement reference, and a main idea lesson calendar. The hard part is that we are not in school sessions, so we don't have any actual real examples, but Monique, with her background, with her job and helping early childhood teachers, knows the importance of relying on reflecting and other tools. So her first one, which can help with instructional gap, reflecting on what we did well in lessons on main idea and what can be improved and changes for next time. Relative significance 4 out of 5, it's very important to be reflecting on what you can do better in your lessons. 2, flexible grouping. Again, if this was, instructional time, school year, I could have a chart of the different grouping and when they meet and the different activities we did. But flexible grouping helps with the learning gap. And it's very important because it makes sure the needs of all students are met and at their level. Teacher lesson improvement reference. This is a wiki site that Monique found. The URL's right there, tinyurl.com/UDL for RI. It's a great wiki site, lots of information there. And she focused on the 6.2, incorporating universal design and planning. It's a chart like that, took a screenshot. And again, it's important to always be improving our instruction. Monique's artifact 4 was to have a main idea lesson calendar. Again, in real life, in a real teaching time, you'd maybe want to chart out when you taught a lesson, how you taught it, so you know the frequency of an important concept. It's important to monitor that. Then it was Leah's turn. She had a resource for types of multiple measures, a resource which lists possible artifacts, a blog post about teaching main idea, and a YouTube video to use for teaching main idea. So the first artifact is the types of multiple measures. It can be found at tinyurl.com/NWEA-MMADT, and it just kind of lists a bunch of different assessments to help you make decisions in your instruction. Her artifact 2 is at tinyurl.com/POSS for possible artifacts. And this is just a list for teachers. It's great. It also has a list for administrators on possible artifacts to help keep track of different measurements of data. Her artifact 3 is a blog post, which I'm really excited to look more into this person's blog. But basically, and you can find it at tinyurl.com/blog TMIC. It talks about main idea teaching, misconceptions and strategies and scaffolding techniques, and even has some printable resources. Lastly, Leah found a YouTube video. It's actually from BrainPop, and you can find it at tinyurl.com/teaching main idea. And it's just a great instructional resource that you can show students in a very engaging, friendly, child-friendly way. So moving forward, our reflections are that we did choose my data to focus on for the rest of the data meetings. It's still a little bit challenging to be different content areas and having different backgrounds that we're not quite familiar with, but we do work well together as a team. And we always spend like the first couple minutes of any time we get together to hash out and make sure that we're all on the same page. So next steps, I listed who's doing what role. We've also decided that we need to pick like the strongest instructional gap resource to focus on to help lessen the instructional gap, and just to move forward in regards to learning gap with the student item analysis, making sure we know who's ESOL and special ed and all those things. And so next we're on to our data meeting 3 in a couple weeks. And we just conclude with our references. A couple of those artifact sites from Leah were helpful, as well as our textbook. And you can find our team's artifact sheet at tinyurl.com/615T3ATS. All right, have a great night. Thanks. Bye.